What's new, everyone? Welcome to another video by us, the Cole Family Cruising. Today we have a really good one for you. Who do you cruise with out of MSC and Royal Caribbean? As always, we don't mess about. We will give you the good, the bad and the need to know bits. Stay tuned, as you'll be very surprised at some of the stuff we bring up in today's video. Before we start, if you like this video, please like it, share it, and of course subscribe. It really does help. Oh, and if you're a dog lover, check out our other channel, all about our beautiful blue Staffordshire Bull Terrier Jinx. Her YouTube handle is Jinx the Blue Staffy. Without further ado, we are the Cole Family Cruising, and you are watching MSC versus Royal Caribbean. Now, first off, you'll be glad to know we are not talking junk here. We have travelled with both cruise lines and both have been similar class ships. We sailed with both within the last 12 months and both have been round trips from Southampton in the UK. In this video, we will not focus on the specific cruises themselves, i.e. the location and what we did, but more on the cruise lines. This is a comparison video after all. I would like just to add, there is no promotional material in this either. This is purely a comparison from a young-ish family going on a cruise and how it was received. So, first up, initial impressions as we board the ships. Both MSC and Royal Caribbean bring you into the main area of the ship, the heart, where all the shops are. On both ships, people were milling around and nosing at various shop fronts. Both ships gave a wow when you got on, as they were very clean and slightly overwhelming, but very impressive. On the negative side, neither ship really directed us on what to do when we first boarded. We think most cruise lines assume you know what to do or want to do right away, and both times we were left a little lost. Remember, we have a baby, so both times we have to think of him. On MSC, our very first cruise, we were on the Virtuosa. When we got aboard, the staterooms were not yet open, and as it was our very first cruise, we had no idea if we could get food or drinks or anything yet. So we went up to the lifts and sat in the foyer area waiting outside our rooms on the deck 10 that we were on, which took over an hour. We knew a little bit more when boarding Royal Caribbean, Anthem of the Seas, so after our muster point check-in, we spoke to a staff member and found out the staterooms were already open. We would always suggest heading to the staterooms as soon as you can, as you can then unpack and get to grips with your stateroom as soon as possible. Plus, it will always be rammed in the exciting areas of the ship where you want to explore when you first get on, so it is always worth waiting to do that later on. On to the staterooms. Now, this one may seem slightly unfair, as with MSC we had a suite that had a separate lounge, a huge balcony, which even had a Whirlpool hot tub on it. But please remember, this is not what this video is about. Check out our other videos, as there will be in-depth videos about each cruise and more about the locations we visited and excursions. On Royal Caribbean, we had a standard obstructed balcony room. This was a guaranteed stateroom. Quality-wise, both rooms were well appointed with everything we needed. Any pre-orders we made with Royal Caribbean had already been provided, such as excursion details, gift shop purchases and the baby cot. MSC were much slower with this and their systems were quite antiquated. We had to wait for each night before an excursion to get the information on where we were going, tickets, etc. With regards to the baby cot, we had to call a few times on the room phone to get it delivered. Saying that, the cot with MSC was much better quality and not as worn out. Both cruise lines provided excellent quality beds. They were both extremely comfortable, including lovely pillows. Depending on what level you're at, you also get a pillow menu, which is lovely. On both cruise lines, our staterooms were clean, tidy and welcoming. MSC was a bit better with the cleanliness in general though, we would say. One thing to note that is a top tip, and I cannot stress this enough, is pay extra to choose your room. We were incredibly lucky with our guaranteed balcony stateroom with Royal Caribbean, as although it was obstructed, it was only a small amount of a lifeboat you could see. The rest looked out at the ocean thanks to an outdoor restaurant being in place rather than another lifeboat. A room across and we would have had an awful view, so please ensure you think about this when booking, as you don't save that much usually. Also, think about the location. I know it seems like it's not a big deal, but trust us, it is. On MSC, our suite was at the very front of the ship and was high up. We don't get seasick generally, but boy could you feel the English Channel. Granted, it was a little rough being November, but it wasn't awful out there. Now on the Anthem of the Seas, we were mid-aft, that's between the middle and the back of the ship, and we're halfway up at deck 6. At this point we felt almost nothing, so there's a top tip. It really makes a difference, especially if you have someone with you who doesn't like to get rocked about much. Also, another top tip on this subject, again a really important one, being at the front or back means you're under the side thrusters. You may think, oh, I'm on deck 15, who cares? Trust me, it makes a difference. Every morning aboard the MSC Virtuoso, we would wake when arriving at a port to a humming vibration that was pretty noticeable. It was the side thrusters bringing us into port. What a difference it made being mid-aft. We felt nothing at all. It wasn't down to the ship either. During our cruise with the Royal Caribbean, we sat in the theatre watching a kids movie with the baby before we docked. As we were docking, the vibration from the side thrusters was massive in there. The whole place shook. So please bear that in mind. Anyway, enough the top tips. Let's get back to the comparison. The next two are big ones: food and drink. We have the top drink package both times, so no worries on the comparison side there. I'm going to be straight up and tell you it was a win for MSC here. The drinks choice was better, and at different locations there were different cocktails. For example, on Royal Caribbean, all the locations served had the same or similar drinks, bar one place that we found. We also found that staff were not as experienced when it came to making cocktails. For example, one time we tried to order the special of the day. It was called the 7 Seas, and we had 3 completely different coloured drinks. One had used water, I think, one had used soda, and one had used fruit juice to get the colour. It just wasn't good enough, and they didn't really know what they were doing. With MSC, this was never an issue, and the service was generally better. They seemed to be trained specifically in that role rather than moving around doing different jobs, for example. There is a caveat to this though, and if you're not a big drinker, this may apply to you. We're not big drinkers, but you know, being on vacation, we do enjoy having the choice of alcohol, whilst we don't usually at home. If that's not for you, and you want soft drinks, then Royal Caribbean has you covered. Their option was much better than MSC. Firstly, they offered soft drinks or soda fresh from the pump or on tap in the pubs and bars. Some restaurants had cans, but it was rare. We think soft drinks and sodas are much better off the tap rather than in can form, they just taste better. With MSC, it was only can form. Plus, Royal Caribbean had soda stations. There were several across the ship and they were fantastic. You have a special cup with a chip and you can pop it under one of these machines and you can have whatever you want out of that machine. There's so much choice and so many different flavours you can add to stuff that you may never have tried. There was makes of drinks there that we'd never heard of and it was absolutely fantastic. So that's a huge win for Royal Caribbean on the soft drink side. So it's quite simple. If you want the full alcohol package with everything else included, MSC is the winner. But if you just wanted a soft drinks package, I would say Royal Caribbean is your winner. Okay, here's the big one, food. This one is going to surprise you big time. So, we had read reviews and watched videos saying that food on MSC was okay to good, but sometimes it missed the spot. We tried specialty restaurants where you have to pay, the general dining room included, room service and the marketplace buffet. We found all the food to be very good. The quality was nice, the presentation was very good, and the choice of variety was excellent. Fresh cooked pizzas in the buffet and a mozzarella factory that you could watch through a glass window actually making mozzarella. Really interesting. Also, depending on where you ate, you noticed it was different food, and if everything was okay, then great, but if anything went wrong, they did their utmost to ensure you were checked in on throughout your cruise, not just that meal. We were watching videos and reading items about Royal Caribbean too. Everything you read and watch about Royal Caribbean generally says that it is a step up, it is a different level of food to any other cruise line. Due to this, we did have high expectations. This is the big surprise bit. It was okay. Not bad, but certainly not excellent. It was just okay. Okay's not really good enough. It was not as good as MSC, that we're sure of. The specialty restaurants were very good, and you really noticed the difference. The main dining room was a nicer place, and it was quieter than MSC, so that was excellent. The service was also amazing. The food was pretty good too, on par with MSC's main dining room, I would say. The big letdown was the Windjammer buffet. Like MSC, there were many stations with lots of choice. The problem was the quality was not up to par. Food was messed with so that it wasn't very nice. For example, the last night of our cruise, they had a roast dinner, and we thought, great, something different. The gravy, though, was the weirdest spicy stuff I'd ever had. Not what you want on your roast beef. A lot of bread items were going stale. Even the made-to-order stuff didn't taste authentic. Breakfast was terrible. The sausages were God knows what. The choice itself was not great either. A lot of the time, it was the same stuff on 3 or 4 different stations. If you tried something different, it wasn't usually very nice. And every night, the food was very, very similar. Also, no pizzas. If you want a pizza, you have to go down all the way to deck 5, bear in mind the Windjammer's on 14, and go to Sorrento's, an all-included pizza joint. The problem is, it was only pizza, so no chips or fries, no salad or pasta, nothing. It was just pizza. We like to have a variety with our pizza, so not just a slice of pizza. Also, it was a busy place, and the pizza really wasn't that great. It was acceptable, but not great. Bearing in mind that the MSC stuff was made to order fresh Italian-style pizza, this stuff was cooked and freshly cooked with Royal Caribbean, but it was much more of a ready meal frozen pizza out of your freezer. So, a bit of a fail for Royal Caribbean when it came to food. A big shock. So next, things to do. So this was pretty good on both ships. Lots to do for adults, kids and teenagers. The creche for 6 to 36-month-year-olds on Royal Caribbean was excellent and very helpful when you wanted to go out for a special meal. Both have inside and outside pools, which is great. Remember, these get busy though, so if you don't have any kids, visit the adult-only areas, which both ships had. Disappointingly, on Anthem of the Seas, there was no extra pool at the back like MSC had, and no water park on the top. This on MSC was fantastic, and we loved it. What Anthem does have, though, is the Eye in the Sky lift, called the North Star. That takes you all the way up to around 200 foot above the ocean and gives you a 360-degree view of whatever's out there. It was free on port days too. You could also do other activities on Royal Caribbean, such as rock climbing, surfing, bumper cars, silent discos, and flying. Yes, flying in one of those vacuum tubes. Very cool, and all were free on port days, we believe. We didn't try any of them though, and they really gave a good variety, but it was missing the water park that we loved so much with MSC. So with a personal preference, we really miss a water park, but Royal Caribbean did really cater for everyone. Okay, last one before the big one, of which we prefer and recommend. Staff. Staff in general, both cruise lines, were very good. They were attentive, helpful, and very good with the baby. We did feel, though, that the language barrier on Royal Caribbean was more noticeable. Staff came from all over the world on both ships, but with Royal Caribbean they seemed to struggle more with understanding our needs. Some just didn't seem that fussed on understanding etiquette and getting to the crux of a problem, so help was harder. So the big question, who should you book with, MSC or Royal Caribbean? Well, the answer is, it's up to you. Take what you've learned from this video and book what you feel most comfortable with. For us, MSC was the winner. We enjoyed it more, the boat was not booked to absolute full capacity, which is always nice, and you didn't get the feeling that if you spent more money, things would be better. We think if you travelled on one of the supersized Royal Caribbean ships, you would have a better experience, where these problems are not really there, but if that's the case, all Royal Caribbean ships should meet those standards. Also, we're saying that we preferred MSC if they cost the same. For a like booking, Royal Caribbean cost more. What's worse is when we booked, we had a Black Friday deal. If we had not had that deal, a like-for-like cruise would have cost over a third more than MSC. When that's taken into account, there's no contest. MSC is the clear winner for us. When asked if we would travel with Royal Caribbean again, we would still say yes. So by all means book with either, but our review is MSC was better. We plan to try all major cruise lines in the near future and look forward to updating you on all of these, both individually and with comparisons. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Cole Family Cruising. Keep cruising.